bring in Ambassador John Bolton, former White House National Security Advisor under the Trump administration. Ambassador, this New York grand jury feels like a circus. But how do you characterize it?
Well, it's not clear what the outcome is going to be. I think given the number of criminal investigations surrounding former President Trump, two at the federal level, one on January the 6th, one on the classified documents in his possession, the Georgia elections case. You've got 3 different prosecutors in 3 different jurisdictions with 4 different cases. If there were one person in charge, this New York case would probably be at the tail end of that list. But obviously there's no coordination or no effective coordination among the prosecutors. So the first case to be decided, whether they're going to charge or not charge, does look to be this one in New York. It's going to be subject to a brutal attack by Trump. That's what he does. It's not a question of his guilt or innocence in his view. It's that he's being treated unfairly. But I do think while we're now obviously focusing on whether he'll be indicted or not, it's also important to look to the end of the process, whether he gets convicted. And I think there's a big difference. If he is convicted, that's something it's pretty hard for him to shake off politically.
In terms of what exactly he's being investigated for, what exactly this grand jury is looking into in terms of his innocence or guilt, can you just clarify that for the audience? Because it seems to be muddied in the fact that this case has been highly politicized.
Well, there are 2 separate legal issues, and that's one reason it's complicated. The first is a New York State fraud count, likely, at least that's what it's speculated to be, for falsifying his company's books. Now, that's a misdemeanor. There's dispute on whether that normally would be handled by actually indicting somebody or through a consent mechanism. But what makes the case complicated is the speculation that the Manhattan DA will try and turn it into a felony by saying that the cooking the books action was actually also to conceal another crime, in this case allegedly a campaign contribution. Now, that's very complicated itself, because the campaign contribution violation that people think would be alleged would be a federal law and not a New York law. So I think that's one reason why outside observers have speculated this is not a strong case. It's pretty strong on the facts, but there are a number of legal questions. There's a statute of limitations question, and it raises in the minds of some people the argument that any case with this many difficulties has to have some political motivation in back of it. And I think many Republicans certainly think that Donald Trump is the Democrats' biggest political asset. So if things like this rally his base and help him get the nomination of the Republican Party for the 2024 presidential race, that helps the Democrats. And it's a kind of complex logic to get to that point, but I think one can understand it.
Which facts are you talking about? I mean, you just answered a question. You give us all these details, but what exactly is clear cut here? Because there seems to be this discussion over whether Stormy Daniels was really paid by Michael Cohen and the president had nothing to do with it at the time. Whether or not they had an affair has been in question. She just recently denied that she ever said that she didn't have an affair with the former president. But what are the really big selling points for a DA Alvin Bragg?
Well, I think the fact that Michael Cohen himself confessed and was convicted of the crime involving this precise transaction, so that at the federal level, the prosecutors thought they had enough to prosecute him. Now, they declined to go after Trump, which is another argument about the alleged weakness of Bragg's case. As I say, if there were one prosecutor running all of these criminal investigations for the reasons we've just discussed, in a ranking of the 4 cases, this one would probably rank about 6 or 7.
What was the point of bringing this particular case? I mean, over and over again, I keep on hearing how weak it is to take this to court, to historically indict a president of the United States. Do you think it's worth it?
Well, there's obviously a lot about the case we don't know, because there is grand jury secrecy, and a lot of what's been presented to the grand jury has not been public. I view it, unfortunately, as more of a legal question. It's one thing to indict. It's another thing if Trump is acquitted, I think that's rocket fuel for his campaign for the nomination.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.